Allez, c'est parti. Non, si jamais c'est pas assez fort, n'hésitez pas à dire sur le chat, les gars. Wow, une nouvelle tête là, j'ai vu à droite là.
I work on the social media team here at Bungie, and we've got an awesome set of topics to go ahead and cover today. But first things first, we wanted to go ahead and remind you guys of one clarification we made. For starters, all of the weapons in the Brave Arsenal will now be releasing on April 30th. So, just as a quick reminder, all those weapons will be available.
Ah, il rappelle que bon, bah, à partir de 30 avril, toutes les armes seront dispo dans le mode.
For starters, obviously, you can go ahead and attune
les armes
yourself
bravoure,
to a weapon. So whether you want to go ahead and grab that recluse that you've had your eye on for so long, you've got the opportunity to go ahead and do that over the course of Onslaught. Also, there's going to be the chest up by Shaxx as well, so you can go ahead and farm some additional rolls there. But worry not, you'll have plenty of chances to dive in, grab the weapons you want, whether it be through our site's quest lines or otherwise. Those opportunities will be wide open and available. But we have a whole new set of topics to discuss today, including
j'avais pas vu l'infection parfaite là sur la table.
We'll go ahead and share with you in just a bit. But as usual, it won't just be me talking through it. So let's go ahead and tell you about the wonderful folks I have here just to my left. Some incredible developers here at Bungie. We'll go ahead and start with the gentleman here to my left. Friend of the show, one and only Mr. Tom Farnsworth, Senior Design Lead here at Bungie. Tom, welcome back.
I'm back. I keep bringing me back.
I know. You're the best. We can't.
Non, il est juste chaud, Lady.
No, of course,
mais le murmure, il était déjà là les autres fois sur les lives, sur les anciens lives. Mais l'infection parfaite, là, on l'avait pas vu. Ok, les missions exotiques, les récompenses. Ah, il vient de faire un petit résumé du Seigneur.
Et les maps directors here at Bungie, and kind of the person who helped come up with the concept of Into the Light. Rob, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you. We have a lot of fun stuff. We were talking before the show about a lot of cool stuff. We'll have plenty of fun details to dive into here in just a little bit. And of course, the one and only Willie Chang, activity designer here at Bungie. How you doing?
J'ai jamais vu.
I'm doing well.
For the folks at home that may not be familiar with you or your work, what do you do here at Bungie, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm an activity designer for Into the Light. I worked on the 0 Hour reprise.
Excellent. Well, with that, we may as well start diving into the show at hand. We have a lot of cool stuff to start with. In addition to, like we mentioned, some awesome reprised exotic missions, including the Whisper and 0 Hour, which will both feature, craftable versions of each weapon. But let's go ahead and start
et du coup, on va pouvoir les crafter.
with the Whisper.
On va pouvoir crafter l'infection parfaite et le murmure.
Behind the scenes a little bit. Let's go ahead and start from the very top.
On se frotte les mains,
Rob, you were there when it all started. Why did Bungie make the Whisper to begin with?
Well, I think in the first few months of D2, I want to say like the first 3 to 5 months, we felt like there weren't enough secrets in the game. It felt like the game was pretty well known.
Affection parfaite, nouvelle méta PP, j'annonce. Je sais pas.
And it just needed some
tout, c'est que les pulses ils vont se faire buff. Hein.
And we thought that would excite our community quite a bit. Like it would just go over really well. We hoped it would at least.
Yeah.
And we had all this nostalgia for the Vault of Glass and Black Spindle. I mean, one day we were just sitting in a conference room and we're like, what if we just made another Black Spindle mission, but we made it a lot bigger, right?
Yeah. Speaking of, we've got here on screen kind of some, if we can call it as such, original concept art, you say, for the Whisper?
Yeah, concept art.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here?
Well, that's actually the very first whiteboard drawing when we got all excited and we ran and found a conference room and we started, drawing what this could do, what we would want to build. And really, this kind of shows some of the magic formula. Like we had a contract, really, that we called it a contract, and this was an unspoken agreement between us as devs and the hardcore, super engaged players.
Yeah.
And it really was, if you can pass a test where your mind is going to be tested, your fighting, right?
Yeah.
Is going to be tested, and you're going to be able to pass these tests, right?
Yeah.
Your movement, your mind, your fighting.
Yeah.
If you can get past these tests, you're going to be rewarded with great power.
Yeah.
And that was the contract. And so one of the other things we did, and you can see it up here in the upper left, is there's a little crack, and then the path continues.
Yeah.
And that, that's the red herring. And so we thought, well, rather than lead players by the nose and have a bunch of narrative and make it really obvious what you're supposed to do, what if they get into this mysterious place and they don't know what to do? And when they go down the path that they think is right, it's not.
Yeah.
And they go blazing right past the actual opening.
Yeah.
And so we knew we were pretty confident that was going to appeal to the hardcore players, because once they learned the path, they could then bring their friends in and show them, and then we would have the videos, you know, with the walkthroughs, and it would just appeal to
as they let their friends go first that first time to watch them fall off the edge. Also, too, is, you know, to kind of focus a little bit more on the art
ouais, c'est cool que ces missions reviennent, parce que ça fait très longtemps, ça. Ça fait un bail, ça. Il y a plein de gens qui connaissent pas ces missions-là.
Yeah, well, we wanted this like intense mystery vibe, right? The mystery of I'm on IO and I found this place that I've never seen, I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And where does it go, right? And that mystery, and also the feeling of dread.
Yeah.
And so,
a lot of that.
yeah, and it's easy to get a vibe if you listen to one type of music, for example.
Right.
So we were watching Stranger Things and listening to the soundtrack, and I got really into something.
Est-ce qu'ils vont nous montrer un peu du gameplay là sur des missions exotiques ou pas là? Ça peut être sympa pour les personnes qui n'ont jamais vu.
Yeah. Speaks to my hotline.
Mais ça m'étonnerait, je crois.
Inside, honestly. Also, too, is we've got another picture as well of the
titled
green room as well. There was a really cool anecdote you had kind of about the development process of this. What was it like bringing this kind of very iconic, I guess I'd say, Destiny room to life?
Yeah, well, this is funny because there was this thing that we wanted to try, right? Make a room that has a trap in the center, that if you mess up, you end up going down the trap and you get punished for it. And when you get out, you end up back in the room. And it just happens again and again and again. And there's all these different ways that you try to find your way out of this room.
Right.
So the test was to make a tiny version of this, like 1/4 scale. And we brought it into the playtest lab. We had Cosmo and Dylan. We had a bunch of our testers and designers in there.
Ah, bah c'est du contenu facile, oui, Lorenzo. Après, le tout, c'est qu'il y a plein de personnes qui n'ont pas fait ces missions-là, donc pour eux, ça sera du nouveau contenu.
And so the first person that found it, they just screamed and started laughing, and then everybody started finding it. And based on that reaction, we knew we had something good.
En la pensant, on n'apprend pas grand-chose. On ne parle juste de la façon dont ils ont créé la mission, la zone, avec les pièges.
The first 6 albums, like over and over. So it just has that really consistent vibe.
On n'apprend pas grand-chose.
That's just a trick that the whole team uses to get.
C'est vrai, Lady.
A theme or a vibe to be consistent.
We're going to go ahead also too and start jumping the activity so we can see this
vibe
up close and personal as well. But here we are. We're back in the Whisper as well. Really quickly too, off the top.
Il ne montre pas les
Willie, when
bâtards.
it comes to bringing these encounters,
là, c'est au tout début.
Bringing them to the modern era of Destiny, what were some of the bigger challenges that you'd say you have to overcome
il est
to make
avec
sure
le
they were
Luna.
fitting for today's sandbox?
Yeah, so sandbox-wise, players nowadays pack
Gameplay is not final, subject to change. Non, vous allez rien changer.
Clear entire rooms of ads from these activities back when they were in their original state.
Yeah.
Just like extremely quickly. So we had to
Et là, il nous montre toute la mission.
That are in these encounters, and later on, I might talk more about additional tuning that I've done.
Ouais, mais le tout, c'est que maintenant, en fait, ce passage-là, il sera beaucoup plus simple parce qu'on a les épées avec la main patiente.
There was a very bespoke way of getting into the Whisper. You had kind of hang out on IO, wait for this mysterious
Tu vas même pouvoir faire des putains de skips grâce à l'épée.
Before we hopped on the air.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was a victim of it.
Ça sera pas comme avant, ça.
With the RNG, and you had to wait for the right one. And you know, one time I tried to take a coworker through.
Et en plus, il y a le strand aussi, avec le grappin.
Get a few runs because of the public event.
Right.
Là, tu mets un coup de skate, boum.
The team was excited about having a new, benefactor, a new character that you
Bah, en vrai, tu peux mettre un coup d'épée, là, vas-y, là.
Morn's going to tell you some really cool stuff. I don't want to give it away.
Smart, yeah.
But, you're not going to have to
Ah ouais, le temps, ouais. Avant, c'était 20 minutes, non, il me semble. Il me semble que c'était 20 minutes, hein.
Always good to hear, giving a chance, especially, if people are going to come back in here multiple times as they kind of build up their craftable exotics. Obviously a pretty key component.
Ah, mais il y a beaucoup de personnes qui n'ont pas fait cette mission.
It's worth mentioning that
ça date, ça.
This has undergone more changes than just the combat landscape. For the veteran players who are coming in here,
du coup, c'est 35 minutes maintenant. Ça va. C'est large.
How have you gone ahead and made sure that it's fresh for those veteran guardians out there?
Yeah, well,
mais du coup, il y aura sûrement une version maîtrise et sûrement une version maîtrise
exactly
aussi.
What you just said, right? Like if I've played this 10, 15, 20 times, I've guided people through. Maybe I've made a video about how to get through here. How's it going to speak to me, right? Like, what's going to be cool for me to go in and do it again? And that was the goal that the team had. And when we knew we were going to do this, I made my own list, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, we're going to change this, we're going to move that, and I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
So Tom was in this meeting. So I show up, and there's like, 15, 20 people.
Yeah.
And they presented this whole plan. And I had my list all ready to go, and I was going to wait. I was going to listen to all the proposal and everything, and then start giving ideas and stuff. And when they finally finished presenting this plan for how to update this thing, I just deleted my list because it was like it was way bigger and way cooler than anything that I'd come up with.
Yeah.
It was just so neat to see like a fresh take on it. So if you think you know where the chests are, if you think you know where all the secrets are, if you think you know where all the surprises are, you don't, because they're different. All those old guides and all the old walkthroughs, they're going to have to be remade. Even though I'll just give one away. When you first get in, there's that first secret chest room on the right.
Right.
The anomaly has taken care of that. It's not there anymore.
Il n'y a plus le coffre.
To the Steam guide writers, to the game facts writers, to the folks making their YouTube videos, a revision 2 is going to be in order sometime soon.
Oh yeah.
By the sounds of it.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Ne vous inquiétez pas, les gars, bien sûr, on fera nos meilleures vidéos.
You know, are there any other changes that you guys are particularly excited about when it comes to the Whisper? We're going to move on to 0 Hour here in a little bit, but you know, before we conclude our journey here, Willie, actually on your side, are there any changes in particular that you're excited about with this updated version?
I'm excited about the way that the boss fight has changed for this activity.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll leave that to folks to go ahead and discover on their own when it comes to the launch day of the Whisper. But yes, this is a first look for the folks out there who are looking to go ahead and make sure that they're ready on day 1 to go ahead and add another craftable exotic into their collection. Obviously, the Whisper is going to be there for you, but we don't want to spoil all of it. You'll have it in your hands soon enough. And also, some folks out there have already had a chance to play it, so we don't want to go ahead and uncover too many of the mysteries. Up next, we've also got, obviously, another iconic one, 0 Hour. Let's start from the top. Can you explain, Rob, the concept behind Trevor? You've obviously got an homage to him on your...
I have my shirt, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about what this original concept was?
So Trevor was really inspired by this. There's this Japanese game show called Takeshi's Castle, and it's been around a while. And it's great because it has all these physical challenges and people getting knocked down or, you know, flipped over and stuff and trying to get through things. And there's just a lot of comparisons to what we try to do in Destiny. And we've borrowed from that show and shows like it for a long time for cool ideas. And they have this one bit where the contestants try to get up this hill. And there's this big fake boulder that comes down the hill, right? And there's these little like side rooms, you know, like little pockets that they can try to get into. And so we were like, man, if we had something like that in the middle of this mission, that would be amazing, right? Like, and so we had this thing that we called, there it is. Yeah. So we had this thing that we called the hazard for a long time. The hazard is going to get you, right? And it's going to come down at you. And on the left, you can see the original whiteboard drawing of what this could look like. And there you see the hill with the slots. We basically lifted off of Takeshi's Castle. And then that evolved into what we eventually made as a maze, right? And then there's the very first drawing of Trevor. And on the right, you can see a concept art by one of our artists named Fan Gao. And when I looked at it, it had a bit of a vacuum cleaner look. You know, it didn't quite nail the fear, you know, which we might talk about in a second here. So then on the far right, you can see the centipede legs and the light and the final revision. That's pretty close to how Trevor ended up.
Yeah, it definitely it feels terrifyingly familiar in some ways, we'll say. And I, you know, kind of while we're on the legs, which brings up honestly another great example I'd love to touch on as well is, you know, as a guardian myself, we've felled gods. We've fought some of the most difficult battles in the universe, whether it's against our fellow guardian or the many foes that set foot inside the solar system. When it comes to Trevor in particular, it elicits a very primal, sincere fear. How did you guys kind of elicit that from players who have obviously conquered so much?
Well, I think there's this like satisfaction from scaring people that's inherent in everybody. Like we've all scared somebody, I think, at some point. It's just super fun.
De faire peur aux gens.
So what can we do in Destiny to actually make people feel fear? And the team was super excited about how to try to tackle that problem. Because you're right? Like Guardians can just jump away and we kill everything and we're just gods.
Invisible and dodge away.
Yeah, exactly.
To do it. Yeah.
But how do you scare our players in the game, right? So the first step was drop you in a maze.
Yeah.
There's something in there that you cannot kill. You can't jump up because the ceiling is just above your head, right? So those were the first 3 things. This thing is faster than you. So you know you're in there with something that you can't kill that can go faster than you. And then of course we did the centipede bottom, which I have this particular phobia of centipedes. Like
The fact that you took something that is such a fear and put it front and center, honestly, like it's commendable.
I watched this video like a week ago where this dude takes a giant centipede and lets it bite him on the arm.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I don't know. I almost passed out like watching this video. Centipedes terrify me. And so I thought the bottom of this thing just has to be sideways centipede legs that are made of metal and they just grind you up when it touches you. And then the final piece of the formula for this thing really was to put a super bright light on it that would shine as a shadow caster across your, like past your body, so you can see your own shadow as you're trying to get away.
Ils sont full shield
honestly, like a lot of it was inspired by the anxiety
là tu vas avec intolérance.
Folks on the team also felt when we talked about like the trope of a subway that's coming around the corner. Right.
You see that finite clock running out in front
of you.
It's coming.
Yep, you see the light coming and then you see the thing.
Yeah.
And so that really helped us figure out how to make this thing.
C'est pour casualiser le truc, comme ça tout le monde pourra faire la mission.
Yeah, no.
Not a chance. No. Trevor's going to chew you up, honestly.
Après avoir la version maîtrise, est-ce que ça sera 38 minutes aussi?
We're in the beginning stages here of the Whisper we can see on screen. Willie, we kind of touched on this briefly over the course of the Whisper.
Après je dis version maîtrise, mais ils l'ont pas encore dit s'il y avait une version maîtrise ou pas.
Spaces and these encounters for Guardians in a modern sandbox, especially those that are going to have the Brave arsenal available to them.
Yeah, so just now you saw a brig in this encounter, which there wasn't one before. I think there's the desire to keep the soul of the activity, which is that, oh, there's time pressure on me to finish this activity quickly, and also I'm going up against powerful enemies that are trying to stop me from doing that. So we wanted to make sure that the combat still felt challenging, even in today's sandbox. So we added some new combatants. The brig. And we also just increased the number of combatants, period, so that players had more to do with their more diverse and deadly tools.
Guardians have plenty of those available to them. When you were developing these combat spaces as well, were there any moments where you really thought to yourself, like, all right, this is it. Like, we've really centered in on what was great about this mission originally, but this is going to be appropriately challenging for today's Guardians.
Yeah, I think
avec le sommet, là.
when we play tested it and
dommage, il a pas pris la recluse là en secondaire, là il est avec son Luna là.
They're like new maneuverability tools, their swords, their grapples.
Bah ouais, mais maintenant il y a plein de nouveaux trucs.
We were expecting that like, oh, people are going to breeze through this like it's nothing, like the original 20-minute timer has to become something else, but really all of that translated over pretty well. Like the individual sections are self-contained enough that like you can't bypass too many things by just using one new tool. The whole thing sort of still felt like 0 hour, even with your new toolbox.
That makes perfect sense. Even with, we're going to go ahead and jump forward here a little bit as well, using our dev tools to take a look at Trevor as well. So for the folks out there that want to reinstill that fear in themselves, now's a brief chance to check it out. Also, too, is we're in a world where, you know, there's strand grapples, there's shatter skating. When it came to kind of redesigning these activities, or even making, I guess, alterations more appropriately on these activities, you know, with one like Trevor, for example, what was the challenge that you kind of had to overcome with those new movement tools in addition to the combat tools that players have available to them?
Yeah, I guess philosophically, I want to make sure that if people were speccing into being highly maneuverable, then I honor that choice and say, yeah, you're highly maneuverable. Like maybe you're in this hallway with Trevor. I don't want to be ground up by these centipede legs, so I'm going to sword skate through this so that I can have a little bit of speed on Trevor. But like, you know, you still can't invalidate the challenge entirely. Trevor will still kill you if you mistime those. So they're just like different expressions of how you want to tackle these challenges, and none of those expressions like fully throw these challenges out the window.
Yeah, actually, something too that I'm seeing pop up in chat here is the mention of the timer. So for starters, there's also, this is normal difficulty, and there's also legend, isn't that right? Tom, can you tell us a little bit about like any updates to the timers in these missions as well?
Il s'est fait rafaler, il s'est fait niquer.
Willie, feel free to have him correct me if I'm wrong, but on normal, it's 40 minutes because we want to give players a little bit extra time, especially if you're new. We want this to be accessible. Everyone would get in there and get the experience.
Il manque un autre levier à gauche là. Allez, Rock.
The quests.
Allez, Rock. Oui, let's go.
Are in the legend version, which has a 20-minute timer.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Ah, je crois qu'il vient de dire que par contre la version légende, ça sera un timer de 20 minutes. Hein. Mais j'ai pas fait attention, mais je crois qu'il a dit ça.
You've made in particular that you're excited about, that you're comfortable talking about it here, or is it just you want players to dive in and find out for themselves?
Yeah, so the whole secret setup for 0 Hour is different. So, previously we had key cards. Those have been replaced by another secret system that you'll just have to find out more about for yourself.
Excellent.
And I'm also proud of the boss fight in this.
Il est fier du boss
final. We'll hold that one close to the
pourquoi?
vest. Players will have a chance to see that on their own and see Willie's hard work in person very soon.
Wow, ils ont sûrement
now,
changé
as
aussi.
we mentioned at the top of the show as well, there's going to be craftable versions of these exotics, and we're going to check them out. But there was one more example that I wanted to ask you about, Rob, in particular. There was some discussion briefly about the acronym that is Trevor. Could you tell us what that stands for?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, but I had to open my phone because it's like impossible to remember that.
We all have our notes. Yeah, it's part of the game.
So early on, the team we just realized we had to figure out an acronym for this because we loved the name Trevor because it was paradoxical. Mm-hmm. I went to school with a kid named Trevor who was the nicest kid in the entire school, just nice to everybody to a fault, right? So I always thought like Trevor is just the nicest name, and so paradoxically, here's this evil thing named Trevor, and we thought it was hilarious. But once we alphanumericized, is that a word? Yeah. Once we made that, we had to come up with the acronym. So the one that I had was Tracking Robotic 3-Vectored Reducer. Because it reduces, right, Tom? It's like it reduces you, yeah. But that was our internal acronym.
Yeah.
And so when we went to GuardianCon and we did like a fly-through or like a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And so the community team thought that we should let the fans of GuardianCon decide what the actual acronym for Trevor was. And so we had like the 5 different examples, and my tracking robotic was in there.
Oh,
right? That's one of the things. I was like, please pick mine, please pick mine.
Yeah.
And so at the end, what they decided on, and they decided by loud applause, and it was like very obvious that this is what they wanted.
The committee had
spoken. Oh yeah, it's like very obvious.
Yeah.
What they decided on was Tame, Relaxed, Triple-Vec Roommate. So that's the official name for Trevor.
That's it, it's codified.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to the denizens of GCX. Thank you very much for your hard work and letting us know exactly what Trevor should be called. That's really cool. I wish I'd been there for that. Okay, now we're taking a quick look at the craftable exotics as well. We're going to go ahead and start
montrer
with
donc les versions craftables.
Tom,
donc on a le murmure de verre ici.
Players who are kind of going to go ahead and facilitate their own play style or want to build a whisper all to their own. What are they going to have to look forward to with all this?
Yeah, even before we get into the crafting, like I've got my notes here for Chris Proctor, so yeah, he's sitting on my shoulder, helping me out here.
On a respiration contrôlée.
We wanted to retain the fantasy of both these weapons, of both Whisper and of Outbreak. And Whisper, it's a hard-hitting precision weapon where you're in the backfield. Like, and if you land your crits, you're rewarded, and you can sustain a ton of damage on a boss or enemies with a large critical area.
Ogres will be felled.
Ogres will be felled. The servitors.
Don't stand a chance. Yeah.
And then with Outbreak, the fantasy is all about spreading the plague of Siva nanites.
Certainly.
And we'll be able to get to that in a minute. But
I think we're looking at Whisper right now.
Yeah. So specifically with Whisper and Outbreak, for both of them, with both these crafted weapons, they'll both have a craftable barrel, magazine, traits, and stock options. The barrel and magazine options will let you really push the stats around. So you'll be able to have a max stability Whisper if you want.
Yeah.
Which was really advantageous for a weapon that's about this hitting repeated critical hits.
Certainly.
In an area. And then specifically for the perks on Whisper, and both the perks on Whisper and Outbreak are things that by engaging in our secrets week over week, and both of these exotic missions, you'll be able to unlock them. And for Whisper, it starts off with Mulligan, which is the classic perk where if you miss your shots, it's refunded. But if you upgrade it, you can get Field Prep, which will give you more shots, which equals more damage.
Yeah.
And then there's No Distractions, which will allow you to
sans distraction, bof, pas très utile ici.
Aim on your target better.
Et après on a Action illuminée.
Action, which is for more forgiving reloads. So there's, I think, a lot of options for players at different play styles and different skill levels there.
Yeah.
And then just the kind of the cherry on top there with Whisper is that it's getting a reserve buff.
Je pense que le meilleur, ça va être
So it's going to go
prépotère.
from 18 in reserve to 24 in reserve.
Et après, on a respiration
so you're going to have
contrôlée.
a ton of ammo to just like make it a sustained damage monster, which is super exciting.
So ultra precise
pas que
players like
respiration
myself
contrôlée,
who never miss a
normalement.
shot will have even more. Why are you guys laughing? Why is that funny? No, that's really exciting. We also, so we have Whisper the Worm, in addition to Outbreak Perfected now joining the pool of craftable exotic weapons. Let's take a quick look at Outbreak as well.
Vas-y, ils vont nous montrer la fiction parfaite. Qu'est-ce qu'il a maintenant?
Tom, kind of, second verse, same as the first, same question. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the perks and updates that players will have available to them with their options to craft Outbreak Perfected?
Yep, and so in addition to barrels and mags, it has its classic Outlaw perk is back. So you get your fast reloads on final blows, which works really well with Outbreak. It's all about also landing precision hits to either spawn nanites or to kill enemies and spawn nanites and spread that Siva energy around.
Spread the plague.
Spread the plague. And then the second one, though, that we're added here is Rapid Hit, which plays right into that. So like, you land your precision shots, you get more stability, you get faster reloads. Then another new one is rewind rounds. It's hard for me to say.
Fast,
try it out.
Yeah.
Which refills your reserves from to minimize your reload. So like if you're hitting shots, you're just going to keep getting more ammo.
Pour le PvP, on va partir sur du chasseur de tête là.
Perpetual motion machine, no perpetual death machine.
So yeah, it's like do you want the reloads, or you just want to keep shooting?
Yeah.
And then there's also a head seeker, which I think maybe for PvP or for certain play styles where like you're less focused on your critical shots. That's something to think about as well.
Right.
In terms of catalysts, if you already have them, you're golden. You can craft those. If you don't, play the legend version of Whisper and 0 Hour.
Ok, donc si vous n'avez pas les catalyseurs des deux armes là, il faudra faire la version maîtrise pour les dropper.
These new intrinsic perks that you can slot in. There'll be like a 3-week mini quest line that rolls into the secrets for each of these. And Whisper is coming at launch within the light.
Exciting.
And 0 Hour is coming in May.
Perfect. Okay. So it'll be a chance to go ahead and sink your teeth into 0 Hour for a while before you go ahead and change your attention and start unlocking another one of the storied exotics of old. Also, it's worth mentioning that there are more than just the craftable weapons available as rewards in these missions. There's some tried and true ships. Now, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, but as someone who still to this day wears 1,000 wings.
You and me?
Yeah, like we know the feeling of getting that ship and finally having that I was there moment. The ships are making a return as well, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so for both Whisper and for 0 Hour, they're coming back. Is it the exact same ship, or are there going to be changes on them?
No, these are actually new assets, right? They're new ships, so they won't be the same. They won't sit in the same spot in your inventory, and they are updated to look really cool and new. And I think they're exciting, especially we took the old scrap drifter ship that was, I think. Not really loved particularly by the community because it was literally scrapped together from spare parts to get built, and so we did a really nice pass on that. So it's inspired by the look of Outbreak Perfected, and I think it looks great. I think the community is going to love it.
Yeah.
And then we have
Avril, ça va être les anciens mais revisités apparemment.
It's got a new design, so you'll still have your old 1,000 Wings, and if you have that equipped, players are going to know that you're OG and that you got it back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And the new one is going to look like the new one, so there won't be any mistaking the old one for the new one.
Very cool. Excellent. So for the players who want to go ahead and continue to build up their collections, there's a chance to go ahead and dive back in. Maybe they weren't there originally, but they want to go ahead and join the 1,000 Wings Club to a degree.
Exactly.
Excellent. So it'll be a chance to go ahead and unlock those as well.
Ce sera les anciens mais version revisitée.
We were actually about at the point of the show we're going to go ahead and get ready to rotate over to the PvP map pack, but for starters, let's go ahead and make sure we thank our incredible team of playtesters here, going ahead and showing off the missions for us. Ashley, Peyton, and Michael, thank you all so much. Very much. There we go. We're getting some waves from the backstage. Thank you all so much for the time. And of course, Willie, I think this is unfortunately the time now we bid you adieu to go ahead and transition into the PvP
Thanks
map.
for having me.
See you soon.
Awesome. Willie, thank you so much. All right, we are now joined by another member of the Bungie development team, a staff artist here who has helped made many of the PvP maps that you've also known and loved. The one and only Mr. Cooley Callahan. Cooley, welcome to the show, man.
Guys, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. It's been so long.
Yeah, it has. It's been a minute.
Look at us, right?
That's full circle.
Yeah. Now, we were talking a little bit before the show about Cooley. I'm going to go ahead and do us all a favor and put Cooley on the spot to a degree. Rob, we were talking a bit about Cooley's history.
We were.
Here. Can you tell us a little bit about the man sitting just to your left, the contributions he's made to the PvP pantheon?
Yeah, well, one of the things that was really important for us was to make sure that the strike team was stacked that we had the best designers on the strike team. And so Cooley is certainly one of those. He's a 6-year veteran of the PvP team who shipped over 11 maps.
Ah oui, ça fait longtemps qu'il est là, oui. 6 ans.
And I'm not going to steal any more Cooley's thunder. I'll just let him talk about some of that.
Bungie.
Yeah, it's not everyone's a banger. I mean, there's definitely some maps that people would want some words with me. But I
we'll
think,
save that for later. But what are some of the bangers?
Come find me. It's I think Burning Shrine, which is now Burnout. It's such a classic map. It's a Trials favorite. And then Midtown is another map that turned out really well. We built that for Countdown, but I was just chatting with another Destiny fan at the dog park the other day, talking about how well that map supports all of the different engagement ranges, which is definitely something that we try to do. We try to create places for players to use their favorite tools.
Yeah. Now with the maps, we're going to be looking at 3 of them today with kind of a primary focus on, you were mentioning earlier, I think it was the 3v3 kind of competitive side of things was sort of the focus for these maps?
Absolutely, yeah. I think early on, a lot of the direction that we got was we wanted to bolster that competitive gameplay experience with new maps, tweaks to the modifiers of some of the modes. And so we, in our play testing, really focused on the competitive playlist and really centered and put those experiences at the forefront. And then, all Destiny maps, can suit a variety of modes. So we also made sure they worked elsewhere. But for the most part, we really did want to provide new experiences and just breathe a little bit of new life into the higher, maybe a little bit sweatier gameplay.
So weird how you were staring directly at me when you said sweaty, but that's fine. We'll let it go for now. Actually, briefly too on that topic before we kind of go into the guided tour of these maps. Having had so much time to sort of be a part of building the tapestry that so much of our PvP happens on, what were some of the key lessons that you've kind of taken away from having built those maps and seen them go through everything from trials to quick play and bringing forward those lessons into these maps?
Yeah, I think one thing that is always at the forefront of our minds is trying to strike that balance between providing the playground for players to express themselves and express their guardian and their play style. So a lot of verticality, a lot of movement, and then balancing that with making sure players understand where they're getting shot from, and creating a satisfying PvP engagement that doesn't leave players, cursing the map or, feeling like they don't understand why they died. So we want to make sure that players have, we want to provide a choice for players that's, always available to them to riff and to work with their team to, use the map to their advantage. So it's a balancing like a complex gameplay space that allows a lot of movement and freedom without, opening it up so much that you're not understanding, like, geez, I can get shot from so many different places.
Certainly.
So we really, it's a little bit of back and forth. We'll open it up, we'll try some things. Especially this time around, we tried some stuff and got into the weeds a little bit. But I think that's all part of the discovery process of finding the gameplay that we want to create. And so go further, maybe too far in the openness and Swiss cheese, and then we bring it back and make it a little bit more focused and really dial in the engagements that we want.
That's awesome. I mean, speaking of getting in the weeds, there's no time like the present. Shall we go ahead and dive on in?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Cool. Diving on in. All right, we got the first of 3 maps to go ahead and show off. This is the we have one on Europa, one on Neomuna, and then one on one of the pyramid ships in Essence, I believe. So this is the first one. This is here on Europa.
Okay,
Cooley, can you tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here today, or where we are?
Yes, so this map is called Eventide Labs, and this is a long-forgotten human colony research outpost on Europa.
5 minutes left.
And
Keep it up.
it just so happens that Aramis has chosen this location as a refueling station for her catch. So here you'll see, perched just above the horizon
in
the skybox with, it's getting hooked up, and we have a servitor over here that's hooked up to the catch to provide that ether that the Elixir need. And so we really wanted to situate the maps in the universe and, draw on that deep Destiny lore.
On n'en a aucune de map PvP là sur Europe, si? Je crois pas.
Fallen here,
c'est la première map.
Abandoned human, ice-encrusted structures of the past, which has been a really fun environment to work on. We definitely want to bring in as many new palettes as possible because there's so much great environment art content. The palettes are really cool, and we want to use those in PvP wherever we can, just to different palettes have different character that leads to different gameplay spaces.
Also, when it comes to kind of finding these maps of place in the world, Rob, having kind of looking at through an artistic lens, what were some of the challenges or even kind of exciting opportunities potentially of finding, new places for these maps to live in the more modern era of Destiny that we've been experiencing more recently?
Well, we really wanted to make sure that when we do an update like this, it's a major refresh to the map rotator, right? Like we're adding quite a bit of variety here. We wanted to make sure that we had 3 distinctly different places.
Ça, en vrai, ça va être une map très corps à corps, ça.
So fortunately, we had these available
ça,
to
en vrai,
us.
là, aux pompes, là, dans les couloirs, là, tu vas te faire plaisir.
I'm looking at it again now. I mean, I'm not getting sick of looking at this. The team does such a good job.
It's gorgeous. This is, one of the cool things is just how purposeful
sympa,
everything feels in the world.
Avec la glace, en fait,
so far, it really feels like you're walking into a truly recently defunct, human colony or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and the frozen world of Europa, I mean, they all have their advantages for PvP, but the frozen ice walls of Europa are just perfect for multiplayer, and I'm sure Cooley's going to talk about this a bunch.
Yeah, actually, also too, Cooley, if you wouldn't mind, as people who have heard me talk too much about Destiny PvP would know, Dead Man's Tale and I get along a lot. Can you tell us a little bit maybe about some of the sightlines or opportunities that I'll have to maybe rack up some additional kills as I dive into this map the first time?
Il y a quand même des petites lignes du Seigneur.
If long range is your thing, this spot out here is definitely the place for you. There's one spawn that happens for one team over by C and then one over by A, and so in these competitive modes, if you've got an objective out here, this sightline is really important to lock down. So this is a spot where you're going to have 2 teams poking and peeking each other, and then rushing over here to try to get to this zone and lock it down. And if you're rolling with that long range kit, you can hang back and sort of lock down this airspace here so that
en fait, t'as le côté inté, là, c'est beaucoup de corps à corps, et après t'as le côté endgame XT, là, où c'est que des lignes du Seigneur, là.
And then fantastic.
We also have sort of this the sightline in the middle, which will be pretty fun. It's definitely going to be a race for each player or each team to kind of get to this spot and lock down this sort of portal here to ensure that you can push into this space and kind of control the middle. But as you can see, there's lots of ways for players to come in and flank. So if you're holding the space, you'll really not want to be here for too long unless you've got the support to do it.
Yeah. Make sure you throw those grenades right off of the rip, basically, when you're coming out of spawn to try and conquer that territory as best you can.
Yeah, one of the things I love about these ice caves is it provides a lot of opportunity for grenades, like trip mines, and to bounce things off of the back of the walls, and the shapes here are just really fun to
voir ces maps-là en Aussie, comment ça donne.
So this is one of 3 maps. Let's go ahead and prepare to go ahead and move on to the next one here really quickly. We've got coming up next,
Elle a l'air sympa, celle-là.
Neomuna as well. So finding a place, on Neomuna, obviously, that makes sense for PvP. Probably seems pretty natural, honestly, given just like how rich and vibrant and exciting of a place it is. What was it like, even starting from an artistic standpoint on this map, Rob?
This was a really exciting map for the team. It's a shopping/entertainment center for the Exos on Neomuna.
Celle de Neomuna, tu sens, elle va être banger.
Really fun.
Les décors de Neomuna, moi j'aime beaucoup, donc j'ai hâte de voir.
There's a lot of recognizable things, human scale.
Bah ça va faire très bien au jeu, là, 3 nouvelles mobs d'un coup, là.
We don't always get that
Sirius Plaza.
in all of our palettes, and so this is also an opportunity for us to have a really clean architectural map that has a lot of crisp edges and
elle a l'air sympa celle-là. Je sens que celle-là, ça va être ma préférée.
So all of definitely the more competitive players and the more PvP
je sens que je vais bien aimer celle-là.
They really take to this map and it's an instant hit. People are, just right away pleased with, how readable the map is. It's one of those maps that you play a couple times and you get it, like you understand that it's all about this center atrium room that is really open and kind of has this big pit in the middle, and then there's this area down here which is where a lot of objectives spawn. There's some special ammo down here, but then there's also this place over here where the heavy ammo spawns. Players
là ça va mettre des sourcils.
Sometimes just pop up here to do a quick check and maybe like try to get a cheeky kill on somebody who's maybe running from cover to cover, but you can't hang out here for very long because you've got so many different angles at which you can get shot from. But that's kind of like that balance of what I was talking about before. Like we want to provide that, but we want to make sure that it's not too powerful, or you know, it's a risk reward, right? You're making a trade-off, and you know, the players who are using the map well and who understand the map will you know, be able to use it to their advantage.
Yeah, actually also too, to kind of focus on the readability, I remember overhearing some discussions with you designers talking about the clean zone in PvP. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how it kind of helped inform the design of this map?
Yeah, definitely. I think the clean zone is something that, you know, a lot of developers really use to sort of create this space for.
Mais c'est vraiment une map d'Halo de base, celle-là. Elle est inspirée d'une map d'Halo.
To like really stand out from the environment, and so
j'avoue, genre un troisième.
Where the player's head height is, and this map is. You know,
voilà quoi ça donnerait les gars dessinés en troisième personne.
It can really provide for a good PvP experience.
Oui, c'est exactement la même.
Have this sort of mark on the wall where you can kind of expect.
Moi j'ai pas la ref, moi j'ai très peu joué à Halo.
Till they jump around and strands suspend you in the air, and you're just left there cursing the heavens for a little while. Maybe I'm speaking on my own behalf. This is looking fantastic. Yeah, this is, I will say, one of the maps that, having done a little bit of playtesting myself, I still have to give you credit for perhaps one of the most diabolical heavy weapon spawns, or heavy ammo spawns, rather, I should say, in any PvP map. Like the sheer amount of risk reward that goes into just making your way safely, or so you think, out to that particular territory.
Right.
You know, as you guys were even building that balance of these consumables on the map, Cooley, what was it like sort of having that process evolve or grow?
Yeah. You know, typically when we start laying out a map, we just kind of start with control because it's a good base point. It requires three very well-defined combat pockets that have an objective in them. But then from there, we start mapping out the other objectives that might exist on a map, like the heavy ammo point. And I think we've kind of gravitated more toward having special ammo live next to some of the other objectives on the map, so you're not constantly having to make a choice of where should I go. But we kind of map those things out, and it's sort of a formula. There's definitely a sort of a order of operations, so to speak, of you start with, you know, these big strokes. You go to the next stage and start making sure that you've got, you know, space and combat pockets for, you know, maybe Dominion or, you know, some other game modes, and things just kind of fall into place from there.
Vas-y, tu peux pas rentrer dans les tunnels à droite?
We got one more map to check out as well for all the fine folks at home. We're going to continue our guided tour. We're going to make our way over to Essence, to one of the pyramid ships, to check out the final PvP map that will be releasing in this pack.
Et du coup, la dernière map dans une pyramide normalement. Donc,
I gotta give you guys credit. Like the space that exists inside this pyramid ship that's being terraformed by the Traveler looks just absolutely incredible. But this is the first time you guys have had a chance to really flex your muscles and build a PvP map out here. You know, Rob, just to start from your perspective as we load in, what was it like developing this, you know, playground for Guardians that's kind of so deep in the enemy's backyard?
I think it was really tough. You know, like I remember there were quite a few iterations of this map, and I know Cooley's going to go into more detail, but like from a high level, it's a pretty inherently noisy palette. You know, Cooley was talking about the clean zone. There's some palettes in the game that are just very visually noisy. So the geometry is noisy. They create a lot of shadow and a lot of highlights just by the geometry itself.
Dissonance.
And then the textures, the shaders that are on the geometry, those can be noisy.
Yeah.
And then there's the clutter of the palette. So when you have an environment with a lot of entropy and there's just rubble everywhere, there's like garbage strewn around or plants hanging down.
Je vais peut-être changer de map préférée là.
Some of like the European dead zone.
Pour l'instant, mon top 1 c'est celle de Nemuna, après c'est l'Europe.
This was an example of one of those fairly entropic, high clutter palettes that the team had to kind of wrangle into shape.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Cooley's going to talk about that process because it was quite a process.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, Cooley, I'd love to continue and just start there. You know, taking this space on a pyramid ship and kind of making it suitable for a PvP map. What was that process like from your perspective, kind of from more of a design side?
Yeah, it's again a process of back and forth.
We
start with mass out, and mass out is the simplest and cleanest a map will ever be. And you know, from there we start developing the spatial character of the map. And one of the things we like to ask ourselves is, what is this place? And even with a more abstract
je préfère quand même celle de Néomuna pour l'instant.
It's worth asking that question because we can leverage spatial archetypes that just kind of like naturally resonate with people. So like here we have, in this map, we have sort of these dueling huts, or these dueling ziggurats, and inside of them is this artifact or shrine. So maybe this is like maybe this part of the ship is a collection of mysterious artifacts that the witness has collected.
J'ai hâte de tester ces maps là.
So we lean on those things to give a little bit of rhyme and reason to a space that otherwise is completely abstract.
Mais du coup, ça en vrai, c'est dans la pyramide de Nézarek, celle-là, non?
We can make any kind of space we want. Like, we're not limited by architectural constraints, but you know, it can be tough sometimes to orient players in the map when you don't have things like doors or, you know, like TVs or you know, any sort of, you know, human scale architectural pieces that.
Ah oui, mais juste à côté de l'arbre blanc là.
Yeah.
It's also too is I remember we were talking a little bit before the show, Rob, even about, you know, what it was like from a design standpoint and bringing in external testers to try these maps out for the first time. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and kind of, as you I think phrased it, discovering your own blind spots?
Yeah, well, we've done this before for years, really, and we did it again here, and it was, I think, really successful because, you know, it was 2 days. They ran through these maps when they were still in development. They weren't too far enough along where we couldn't make some pivots that we needed to. And they found a lot of stuff. I mean, for this map, for example, we thought it was in a pretty good place. And a lot of things were called out. They didn't pull any punches. They were honest and clear and constructive with the feedback, and it wasn't super easy to hear it all. But you know, when the team listened to it, and we took tons of notes, and it was also about, they gave feedback on our sandbox as well.
Yeah.
But lots and lots of map feedback. It was incredibly useful.
Limite, je la mets devant celle-là.
You know, just another lesson in what we don't see.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so valuable to do that. And these, I can't say who they were, but they're very well-known community players.
There's folks in chat, who knows? But
yeah, but you know, we really
le décor en fait, il est très sympa sur celle-là.
Because we wanted people that would be very pragmatic. You know, they weren't interested in their own, you know, YouTube monetization strategy or how they particularly make content. They wanted the game to be in a great place. They wanted PvP to be in a great place for the community and for
Mais du coup, ça s'arrive pas tout de suite, je crois.
And they were carefully selected that way. Great communicators who could articulate the feedback. They could really speak to what they were experiencing and what we could do to fix what they were experiencing.
Yeah.
And man, I'd like, Cooley can probably say what he thinks about it too, but I was just blown away by how valuable that was, and we definitely want to keep doing that.
Certainly, yeah. Cooley, can you tell us a little bit more about that experience on your side as well?
Totally. I mean, it's so fun to, like, those are some of my favorite moments when we can get a bunch of you know, super fans from the community in and show them work in progress stuff, and they can actually give us real actionable feedback that we take back to our desks and talk about it, and we discuss how.
Elle est sympa cette map là. Elle est validée, celle-là elle est validée. J'ai hâte de la tester. Et du coup, si je mets celle-là en premier, Néomuna 2, et la map sur Europe, bon bah je la mets 3.
Absolutely, you know, that's our mark. That's our goal, is to you know, create content that they're going to love playing and that they're excited to play and that their communities are going to get excited to play and sort of learn together and build strategies for. You know, that's the funnest part of the job.
Yeah, I mean, also, you know, Cooley, on your side in general, what are you most excited for players to experience once this gets out into the world with Into the Light?
Yeah, I'm excited to see these maps rotate into trials. I'm excited for players to have a totally new
ça va être sympa, ça. Ah ouais, clairement.
It's going to be a sort of an experience of discovery of these new spaces and new strategies, and for players to also, you know, the meta isn't really formed yet. I mean, like we sort of know how the map plays, but it's always a fun surprise to see in the wild just how the map ends up.
Après, il a l'air quand même d'avoir des petites lignes du Seigneur là. En vrai, c'est là, tu peux un peu jouer tout ce que tu veux.
Just watching what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I count myself among the many that are excited to go ahead and dive on in, having more playgrounds to go ahead and dive on in on trials, no matter what the case is, to maybe try and go ahead and actually get some more competitive rank. Cooley, thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through these today. We really appreciate it.
Anytime, my pleasure.
Excellent. And all right, well, we'll go ahead and use that as a moment to conclude the quick tour of as well of the PvP maps. We got a quick question from chat from Jakasor asking about, are we going to get a playlist or mode? It'll be just these new maps during Into the Light. And the answer is yes. When they launch on May 7th, we'll have a 3v3 playlist to go ahead and talk
le
just
7
about
mai, ça sort les maps là.
I'd rather let you play just those maps. Rather, we're talking
Et
about
apparemment, il y aura un mode où ce sera une playlist avec que les 3 maps.
Well, that so far wraps up the first 2 segments of our show. But we've got, as I mentioned at the top, a few more announcements for you as well. So you may have heard us mention the word Pantheon in the TWID last week, or even on the show here last week potentially as well. We have got a brand new raid boss gauntlet rather, starting on April 30th. Now there will be more information about this in an upcoming TWID. You'll have more details to dig into shortly, but you will have the Pantheon coming up, where you'll have an opportunity to face grueling raid bosses in a weekly challenge with escalating difficulties and rewards. Now, this is a chance for you to go ahead and rally your clan or the perfect fire team with Fire Team Finder, if you're able to track them down, to go ahead and track down those exotics, adept weapons, any emblems you may not have gotten your hands on. But we have more details for that in the coming weeks. Keep an eye on the TWID, Cosmo, and the community team. Thank you for your hard work putting that together.
On verra jeudi soir.
When you dive on April 9th, actually rather before we get there, I'm sorry, we will have the opportunity to you'll have the opportunity to get a title through your course of Into the Light as well. So if you dive on in, go ahead and unlock all the triumphs associated with the seal, you'll be able to march into the final shape with a brand new title, Brave, as well. So make sure, go ahead and get those big challenges bit off, so we can handle them as early as you possibly can and let the witness know that you're on the way. And we have 3 really, really cool things hitting on April 9th when Into the Light launches. The first one is, if you're a new player, you got a buddy who's just jumping into the game for the first time, and you'd rather not hang out with Shahan and the Cosmodrome, then you have an opportunity to go ahead and just join the front lines. You can skip the New Light campaign, give Shahan maybe a high five on the way out, ask him for a weekly bounty when you're back later, but you have a chance to go ahead and meet up with your friends, head to the Hall of Champions, grab the gift of the Thunderlords if you so choose, and get ready for battle alongside them. So you'll be able to go ahead and grab some of these new light kits as well, depending on what your subclass of choice is out of the gate. But your barriers to dive in with your friends have never been lower. There'll be a chance to go ahead and dive on into everything you're seeing with Into the Light here. Also, we have a couple more things. We have some questions in chat about this as well from Idzepski and Atlas Live TV. But on 4.9, you'll have the opportunity to also change the way your character looks. So you'll be able to go ahead and change your hair if you didn't like your haircut, if you want to go ahead and change your face paint, if you want to go ahead and risk it to be one of those guardians who goes helmetless in the tower. I'm not sure if I'm brave enough, but I know many of you are. Your chance will be arriving very soon with Into the Light. And there will also be an opportunity to change your name. So Guardian 4681 out there. With the launch of Into the Light, we're also going to give you one more name change token.
Ok, on va avoir un petit jeton, les gars, le 9 avril pour pouvoir changer son pseudo in-game.
You'll have that chance as well once Into the Light
ça c'est pas mal aussi. Il y a plein de gens qui seront contents.
Now, there's a lot, but we also have one more thing for all of you.
Encore une chose.
Next week, we're going to be joining you again for a special developer preview of some gameplay for Destiny 2: The Final Shape. It'll be here, wherever you're watching live, you'll be able to go ahead and watch it on April 9th at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Where you'll get a chance to basically, again, get a look behind the scenes. The developers have been hard at work for some cool stuff that you're definitely not going to want to miss. And over the course of that show, Twitch drops will be live. So there'll be another emblem, which you can see here live on the screen.
Il y aura un nouveau live et du coup, on aura un drop.
15 minutes of view time. If you haven't gone ahead and also unlocked the emblems that you got as a result of this show or that we're having available during the Into the Light streams, then you have a chance to go ahead and spend some more time unlocking those as well. But that does it. For starters, to all of you Guardians out there in chat, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We're thrilled about what we've been able to show off and thrilled about what the team's been working on for Into the Light. So thank you for taking the time to join us. Chat, we see you out there having a good time, so thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. Also, it goes without saying, but we'll go ahead and do so anyway, to the incredible team here at Bungie, building Into the Light, making all of this, the teams that you guys have been kind enough to represent. Thank you all so much for all of your hard work. We're nothing without the entire teams that we have here. Teams are obviously greater than heroes, and we're firm believers in that. And you're all great examples of that whole scenario. To our play testers as well that have helped us bring this show to life, to Ashley, Peyton, and Michael here behind the scenes, thank you so much for showing off some of the cool new content. And of course, all of our guests, to Tom, to Rob, to Cooley, to Willie, to Noah, to Kelsey. I'm not forgetting anyone, am I?
Chris.
To Chris, thank you. To the one and only Mr. Chris Proctor as well. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
And now that is about it. So we're going to keep the stream here live until about 11:30, I believe, so you can go ahead and get a little bit more time racking up the last bits of those
du coup, par contre, rendez-vous mardi prochain. Mardi prochain, du coup, live.
Oh, also, I'm sorry, to the team of
Ils vont nous montrer donc un peu de final shape,
makes this show possible. They have the challenge of making me look good on camera, so obviously their work is cut out for them. Thank you all so much for helping bring this show to life. And now, finally, we're going to go ahead and sign off, and reminder, Into the Light launches next week. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you all Starside.
Oh. Oups. Oh, c'est pas mal quand même là. Bon, les missions exotiques qui reviennent, ça c'est sympa. Pour notamment les joueurs là qui ont commencé il y a quelques années, bon bah vous avez jamais vu ces missions là. En vrai c'est pas mal, c'est pas mal. Après les maps PvP, bon je suis un peu dégoûté, ça arrive que le 7 mai, donc c'est pas tout de suite. Mais bon, entre temps, bon, bah, on va farmer donc le mode agression, assaut plutôt. Et choper donc les armes du seigneur, tout ça. Bon, bah, ça fait quand même un peu de contenu, c'est pas mal. Pas mal.